I'm working in the shop today, and I've got a really fun fabrication project I'm excited about. I am building a new welding cart. Yes, this is the thing that you do when you first get into welding and you get your first welder, you build a cart. And I've got a new welder here today, and we're gonna make a cart for it. This Miller-Matic 251 is a big, heavy industrial machine. So I've had this thing for a long time. When I first got it, my son Dallin was just a tiny little guy. Now look at him. He's all grown up. He's huge. He's taller than me. There's even a banana for scale. The new machine is an HTP 220. It's pretty cool. It's got some new technology in it. It's inverter, chopper power supplies. And there's some stuff you can do, some settings with the arc characteristic and pulse technology that we'll get into in another video. So today is about building the welding cart. I want to make something that's smaller, more mobile, and holds all the stuff that I need. You can see on the old welder, I kind of just pile everything on the top of the cart here, which is not the best. I've got a box full of tips and nozzles. I've got my helmet, my gloves, my jacket. These clamps I use all the time. This pair of whelps I am always looking for. I think this pair was given to me by my friend JD Drake. He was my neighbor in Idaho, and I helped him build a sleigh that his horses could pull, and he gave these to me as a gift. The cap for my tank, I'm always losing that, and some nozzle dip. This is the stuff I use all the time, and I want it on the cart. I also want to be able to open the door on the side of the welder without having to move everything. Right now I have to move everything up here on the top if I'm going to open this up. I'm going to get some measurements of this welder because I want it to fit nice and tight in the cart. After I get these measurements, I'm going to sit down and draw it all out. I'm going to come up with a cart idea that's got everything in one place. I want this welding cart to be really nice, and I want to use it for a long time. I designed it to be built out of 1.5 inch tubing. So I need to drive over to Schultz's, go in and talk to Rowdy, then head around back to where the steel is, pick up my steel, load that up in the back of my truck, then head out and come back here. That is 20 feet of 1.5 inch tubing with a .090 wall. If you live anywhere but the US, that's like 2 millimeters thick. That should be plenty to build the whole cart, but I will also need to use some other stuff. Let me show you the plan over here. This is the basic design. It looks like every welder cart, welder in the front, gas tank in the back, a couple of caster wheels on the bottom. You can also see I've got a few bends I need to make in the tubing. My Amazon wheels just came in. I'm going to be using these caster wheels on all 4 corners, so it'll be super maneuverable. I'll be able to drift around the corners, just like the shopping carts at IKEA. Yeah, they're fantastic. I did the math and came up with the cut lengths. Now it's time to measure and chop this tubing, then I'll get it ready for bending. I added a couple inches to the cut lengths because for me, bending is not an exact science. There's a little art involved, especially with my setup. I'm gonna try and make a 90-degree bend. I'm guessing like 3 degrees of spring back, so I'm gonna bend this to 93 degrees. Okay. I've got my bend started a little bit, but this isn't flat right here. So I'm gonna zero out the angle finder, and then I'm gonna move it over here. Now when that reads 93, I should be done bending. When I let off the pressure, it should spring back to 90 and it'll be perfect. It's not gonna make it all the way to 90 in one shot, so I've got to pull the pin, readjust the arm, repin it, and keep going. It takes a second for the angle finder to settle down, so I'm gonna sneak up on 93 degrees so I don't overshoot it. Oh, it flipped. It's actually gonna say 87. Oh, we're exactly right on. Looks pretty good. So here's the two pieces I just bent, and you can see there's less than 1 degree difference between them. For this project, it's not gonna matter at all. I've got all the tubing marked up now, and there's lots of cutting to do. The ability to move these clamps left and right is really nice when I'm cutting these tubes like this. So I can get the clamp right in here and I don't have to deal with a bend. That one's all done. The pieces that are gonna get notched, I leave them just a little bit long so I can notch through it, and the bottom of the notch will come right to this edge. That's where I want it. Here's the final piece. I didn't put a lot of effort into making it the exact right width because I know I'm gonna chop it down and put a splice in the middle. So we'll get to that in just a second. This is the last bend that I need to make. So next I just have to figure out where to cut it, and then I'm gonna notch the ends. I've got 2 notches that need to be made, right here and here. These are just really straightforward 90-degree notches. I love running the notcher. It's just fun to run this thing, and it's cool to make parts that fit together really nice. It makes welding it up so much easier. There's my notch. All right, it's not deburred or cleaned up or anything, but you can see they just fit together really nice. It's good, but it'll get better. Oh, look at this. That's horrible. I notched it the wrong way. I'm gonna have to do a mess up, fix up. That's all fixed up now, and it added a nice little bit of character. I've got all the main parts made, and I'm ready to start welding this thing together. I pulled some boards off of a pallet I had laying around outside. Then I measured them up and cut them down to length. Now I'm gonna use them to clamp this whole thing together while I weld it up. I'm starting by building the main hoop here, and then I'm gonna stand it up and I'll tack it onto my table and kind of build the whole thing off of the table, then cut it loose when it's ready. I remembered that I want to paint this when I'm all done, so I stopped to sand each one of these pieces. I'm just using my Orbital sander with some pretty rough sandpaper. I've got 80 grit on there right now, and that gives it a lot of tooth because the POR 15 paint that I use likes a good grippy surface. So I'm going to finish all these and then I'll get back to the welding. Sanding is all finished up on these tubes. Now it's time to put this thing together. Looks like I'm building a walker. I'm gonna tack it to the table right there, and then I can start welding up these joints. I can tack these up here. It's starting to come together. I've got to build the shelf here for the welder to sit on. I've got to build the tray on the backside for the gas tank to sit on. And then I'm gonna build some storage on the bottom area. This is where I can start using my scrap material because I need some rungs to go in between these different layers down here. These pieces will work. There's a piece back in there. Oh yeah, I've got plenty. There's a couple of pieces right in here. These shorter ones will work on the short sides. The ends need to be a little bit rounded, like I've shown here, so they'll fit in tight against the tubing. I'm gonna cut them a little bit long, and then I'll come back in with a flap disc and notch them out. These cross pieces are all ready to weld in now. I'm running this machine with 030 wire, which is kind of a new wire size for me. I usually run 035, and it's a new machine. I keep dialing in the settings with every weld. It welds a little hotter than my last machine, but I'm getting used to it. The next pieces that I need to make are the flat pieces, the shelves for the tank and the welder to sit on. And they're gonna be a little bit complicated because they have to wrap around the legs and the curve of the tank. So I'm gonna cut these out on the CNC plasma cutter. And today I'm gonna be designing them with some CAD software called Onshape, and they are the sponsor for today's video. Onshape is a professional CAD and PDM software system for businesses and people like me and you. I like it because it's a parametric modeling system, so I can change the dimensions or parameters and it'll update the design. This right here is the plate that I've sketched out that'll be the shelf for the welder to sit on. And I can export this as a DXF file that I can then use to make G-code for the CNC machine. Onshape operates entirely in your browser, which means you can use it anywhere, like your laptop in your shop or your desktop in your office. It also has some really unique features, like secure real-time collaboration. Multiple people can access and edit a design all at the same time. Unlike other CAD software, Onshape never crashes and you never lose your data. You can design mechanical 3D parts like this tube flaring die that I made, or complex shapes like this alligator. This is why I need a 3D printer. Onshape has FEA capability or finite element analysis, so you can test your design and make fast iterations. Engineers get up to 6 months of Onshape for free. You can check it out right here at this link. I'll also pin this in the comment section. Thanks Onshape for making today's video possible. My drawings are all finished now. Time to load these into the CNC plasma cutter. I'm all set up in the garage here because it is hot out there today. But I've got my first part loaded up and I am ready to go. Let's see. It left a tiny little piece uncut at the end, but other than that, it did perfect. Sometimes it just does weird stuff like that. I have no idea why. That part will be just fine though. On to the next one. The plasma cutter just pooped out here on this cut. I have no idea why. It just stopped about 3/4 of the way through, but I'm gonna save this part. I'm gonna just manually use the plasma cutter to finish the cut line, and that'll be good enough. I use this piece of angle iron as a guide to finish this line right here. There. Both of these are gonna work. This part did not cut out good either, and I hate wasting steel, so I'm trying to figure out what's going on. I think my problem was right over here. This little bearing block, one bolt was missing, one was loose, and I think that loose screw was binding up, so it couldn't move in the Y direction. I got it tightened up. I'm gonna try this again. Oh, it's moving. This old plasma cutter is dying. I don't know how much more life it's got left in it, but it has done a lot of work, so no complaints. I need to rebuild it someday. But I got enough of these pieces halfway cut out that I think I can splice them together and make something that'll work. I want to put in one of the shelves next, so I'm going to go grab those plates that I cut out earlier and clean them up. First, I'm going to chip all of the slag off of the edges. Then I'm going to come back and deburr the edges. And last, I will sand all these parts just like I did the tubing so the paint will stick good. This piece right here is ready to go in. Let's see how it's gonna fit. It's pretty good. I'm gonna weld that in. I'm gonna cut down some tubing to run across here, and that'll stiffen up the shelf. These tubes are fitting good. I went ahead and sanded them just like I did everything else, so they'll paint nice. And I built some for the bottom too. So they're ready to go in. I'll weld these up. I went around and hit all the welds on this, so this plate's in here really good now. When I give it the bonk test, it sounds really solid and it feels tight like a drum. And that's because there's no vibration in it anywhere because I hit all of the edges. That's the feel that I like. So it definitely passes the bonk test. So the tank's gonna sit on this platform back here, and I'll put the wheels under it so the wheels are holding most of the weight, but I do want this to be pretty strong because the tanks are really heavy. I'm gonna build some little pieces of tubing that'll go along the edges here, and then I'll make some gussets that attach it back up to the frame. There's one. There's another one. Got the reinforcement tubes welded in here nice. Now it's time to make the gussets. I didn't have any good pieces of flat bar scrap, so I cut some strips off of this to make the gussets. These gussets are gonna fit in here kind of like this. I'll put them a little further to the inside, right in there. The bottom bracket's all finished up. Now I'm gonna put this top one on. I'm gonna get it as high as I can before this tube starts to curve inward. The next thing I want to do is build that lower shelf, and those are the parts that didn't cut out right. So I've got two of them that are partially good. I'm going to cut off the bad sides, weld them both together, and make one good shelf. Oh yeah, goes in there nice. I don't even know if I should hit this side. It welded through really nice. The open gap was a good idea. Okay, I'm gonna clamp this in as I weld it so it'll stay down nice and tight. Time to put these wheels on. I ground the paint off them. I'm just gonna weld them on. I'm not gonna bolt them on because it's way easier to weld them on. And I know that you could burn up the bearings or the seals in these, but I'm just not worried about it. They'll be fine. I got these little pads that I'll weld on the front. They'll go right in here, so it'll sit level in the front with the back. All right, doesn't have to be super precise. Somewhere right in there. It's finally time to get this up on its feet. Here we go. Oh yeah, this is gonna be good. This thing is feeling really good. It's very rolly. It's gonna be easy to maneuver, lots of space. It's gonna work, but I'm not done yet. I've still gotta make places for all the things that I wanted to store on here. The box with all the parts, and the brush, and my whelps. So I've got a bunch of little things I'm gonna figure out and get welded on, and I'll show you how it turns out. I've been working on all the storage, and let me show you what I've come up with. Right here I got my brush, I got a little spot to hold my whelps. I decided to put a place for a hammer right here because I use this thing all the time. I've got a place for the gun and the cords to hang off of. I'll put the ground cable over on this side. Down on the bottom here, I've got my box with all the tips and the nozzles in it. I've got place down here for extra welding wire, and I made this little spot for the cap so that it won't roll around. So right now I've got everything on here that I want. I decided to go against putting clamps on here because I think that would just be too much. They'd always be clanking around and falling off. So no clamps, but everything else is right here in one spot. I think I'm done with all the welding here. Now it's time to get this ready for paint. This is as clean as I'm gonna get it, and I've got everything taped off. I'm gonna be using this gloss black POR 15 top coat because it's super tough. I let this sit overnight and it's all dried off now. Time to put it all together. Here it is all put together. I've got the tank strapped in. All the stuff I use all the time is right here, easy to get to. The cords are wrapped up, and you can see it's pretty small. It's a pretty potent little setup. It's powerful, but it doesn't have a huge footprint. It's light, it's maneuverable. It's gonna be easy to push around the shop and get it wherever I need it. This is gonna get a really good workout with all the projects that I have coming in. Let's do a drift test. Oh yeah, it'll drift. I got locks on all the feet. If it's moving around too much, I can lock it in place. I think this setup is gonna work out fantastic. I'm happy so far. You might notice that I've got the welder sitting kind of low in the cart. And that's intentional because when I pull the gun off and use it, I don't like there to be a lot of sag in the cable. It can create a kink right here that makes wire feeding a little harder. So this is low to the floor, and the panel here is angled a little bit, so it's still easy to read when you adjust the dial. I've got a quick little project right now I'm gonna test this out on. It's time to fix the bead breaker. You can see right here that this thing bent and the welds broke when I was breaking the bead on that big 40-inch tire. I'm gonna cut this apart, we'll get these straightened out, welded back up, and reinforced. I'm gonna weld these on here to reinforce the top side, and these triangles are gonna go over the hole like this. Why triangles? Because I have thousands of triangles. The reinforcements are all welded up, and now the legs are going back on. I use this tubing to chop out some little gussets to fit right in there, and that'll be my final reinforcement. I'm only gonna weld the sides on this. I'm not gonna weld right here because I don't want it to buckle or tear right at the heat affected zone. There's a lot of welding done in here. This thing is easily twice as strong as it used to be. It's nice and straight because the pin slides in and out. Time to put this back together and test it on that big tire I've got. Time to get the jack out and see if we can break this loose. All right, it did it. There we go. Looks like this thing is gonna work great on big tires. Let's try the other side. All right, that's broke all the way around now. The bead breaker is fixed. I had to put a lot of pressure on that back bead and it still broke it without bending or hurting the breaker. So I'll get those drawings or sketches up on the website. You can check those out at tomtomshop.com. Let's talk about the welding cart though, because that's really what this was all about. So I was welding 1/4 and 3/8 inch, no problem, not pushing this welder to the max. But like I said, no review on the welder right now, other than so good so far. The cart is fantastic. It's more mobile. It's got all the stuff I need. It's easier to get into little places. I'm really gonna enjoy this. I'll get a sketch of that up on the website as well. So we'll get this thing put to use right away on some more projects. As always, thanks for watching. And if you're interested in the full video about how the bead breaker was made, that's coming up next, right over here.